morning, students. Today we are going to read the 7th chapter of our supplementary book. It so happened, and the name of the chapter is The Open Window, and this is written by H. Munro. Very interesting suspense and thriller story this is. In this story, the main character, Frampton Nuttall, had bad nerves, means suffering from nervousness. So he goes to a countryside village area, means a calm and quiet place for treatment. Then there he calls on a family friend. He meets a family friend. The lady of the house was busy upstairs, so he meets her 15-year-old niece named Vera. She is very calm and confident, that little girl, and she told Mr. Nuttall that her aunt, Mrs. Suppleton, would come downstairs soon. Means says, "My aunt will be down presently, Mr. Nuttall," said a very self-possessed young lady of 15. A very confident young girl of 15 tells him that my aunt will be down here very soon. In the meantime, you must try and put up with me. Means in the meantime, till my aunt comes and meets you, let's get to know each other. Frampton Nuttall endeavored to say something which would duly flatter the niece of the moment without unduly discounting the aunt that was to come. Mr. Nuttall tried to say something that would make that little girl little happy, but also taking care that it would not discount or it would not make her aunt any unimportant. Privately, he doubted more than ever whether these formal visits of a succession of total strangers would do much towards helping the nerve cure which he was supposed to be undergoing. But privately means from inside he had doubt that as he is visiting these strange people one after another in a succession, will it be any helpful in curing her in the treatment of his nervousness. He is undergoing that treatment of nervousness. So, but he was a little doubtful about this, whether it will be any helpful to meet strangers like this. "I know how it will be," his sister had said when he was preparing to migrate to this rural retreat. Means he was getting ready to come here at that time. His sister had told him that how it will be, how it is going to be. She said, "You will bury yourself down there and not speak to a living soul, and your nerves will be worse than ever from mopping." He knows, his sister knows that he will be very self-possessed there. He will bury himself down, means he will stay alone, will not speak to anybody, and his nervousness will be even worse than ever. "I shall just give you letters of introduction to all the people I know there." So the sister says, "Okay, I shall give you some letter of introduction. I know some people there, so giving those letters, they will know you. Some of them, as far as I can remember, were quite nice. Some of those people are good people, nice people there. So I will give you letters for them, and maybe they will help you." Frampton wondered whether Mrs. Suppleton, the lady to whom he was presenting one of the letters of introduction, came into the nice division. So now Frampton is here to Mrs. Suppleton's home, and he was wondering he was going to give one such letter from her sister And now what type of lady she would be a nice, she would come in the nice category or not. He was just thinking about it. Do you know many of the people around here? Asked the niece. Now the little girl who was there, she asked, do you know many people around here? When she judged that they had sufficient silent communion, means after some time when she realized that both of them were silent, nobody was speaking, so started again speaking, asking, do you know some people here? Hardly a soul, said Frampton. Means hardly a soul, very hardly I know any people here. My sister was staying there some 4 years ago, and she gave me letters of introduction to some of the people here. But my sister, who used to live here, she knows some people and she has given me some letter of introduction to some of the people here. He made the last statement in a tone of distinct regret, saying कि sister has given him letters, but this he said with a little clear regret or little grief. Then you know practically nothing about my aunt, pursued the self-possessed young lady. So that calm and quiet young lady said, that means you practically don't know anybody here, or practically you don't know anything about my aunt, Mrs. Suppleton also. Only her name and address, admitted the caller. He accepted that yes, he only knows her name and address. He was wondering whether Mrs. Sableton was in the married or widowed state, whether she is married woman or a widow. An undefinable something about the room seemed to suggest masculine habitation. He was in that room where he could feel. He could not define it how it was. It was undefinable, but he could feel that some masculine habitation is there. Masculine habitation means some masculine means male, means gents or male. Habitation means some man also live there, that he could feel around the room. Her great tragedy happened just 3 years ago, said the child. That would be since your sister's time. So now the girl said, that great tragedy happened with my aunt just 3 years ago, means just after your sister lived here. Tragedy? Asked Frampton. Her tragedy? Somehow in this restful country spot, tragedies seemed out of place. This place seems very quiet and calm place, a countryside, a rural area, and here some tragedy happening. It was just very strange for him. So he was surprised. Some tragedy. You may wonder why we keep that window wide open on an October afternoon, said the niece, indicating a large front window that opened to a town. So the girl, indicating to a big window which was open, says, you may wonder, you may think why we always keep that window open. It is quite warm for the time of the year, said Frampton. But has that window got anything to do with the tragedy? Frampton guessed that it is quite weather here. It is quite warm weather here. That's why maybe you open it. But has it some connection with that tragedy? Has it to do some anything to do with the tragedy? Is it related to the tragedy? Out through that window 3 years ago to a day, her husband and her two young brothers went off for their day's shooting. They never came back. So now the girl tells him that some 3 years ago one day her husband and two brothers went out of the house, and they went through the window for they were going for shooting, but they never came back. In crossing the moor to their favorite shooting ground, they were all three engulfed in treacherous piece of bog. Means when they were crossing the moor, means a marshy area like a quicksand. When they were crossing that, they just engulfed, they just drowned in the bog. Bog means again a marsh or wet spongy ground. They were engulfed there, they were swallowed up completely in that dangerous area. It had been that dreadful wet summer, and places that were safe in other years gave way suddenly without warning. Means during that time it was wet because of rain, and other time the same area which was little safer, but it suddenly uh, just became so dangerous without warning. Their bodies were never recovered. That was the dreadful part of it. Here the child's voice lost its self-possessed note and became falteringly human. Means till now she was speaking very calm and cool tone, cool voice, but now her voice changed, telling about that was very little part of it, and it became little faltering and shaking. Poor little aunt thinks that they will come back someday, and the little brown spaniel that was lost with them, and walk in at that window just as they used to do. My poor aunt, Mrs. Appleton, always thinks they will come back someday. With them, there was also a little brown spaniel. So spaniel is a kind of dog. So they had a dog, pet dog with them, which was a spaniel. It was also lost with them. So my aunt still thinks all they will come back and walk in through that window, just they used to do. They used to come and go through the window. So in the same manner, someday they will come back. My aunt still believes. That is why the window is kept open every evening till it is quite dusk. Till the evening, till it is dark, the window is kept open every day. Poor dear aunt. She has often told me how they went out. Her husband with the white waterproof coat over his arm, carrying a white waterproof coat on his arms, and Rooney, her youngest brother, singing Bertie, why do you bound? He always used to sing that song, and at that day also he just went out singing that song. He always did to tease her. His brother, her brother, used to sing that song to tease her sister, because she said it got on her nerves. Do you know, sometimes on still quiet evenings like this, I almost get a creepy feeling that they will all walk into that window. Even sometimes I also feel, okay, a scary feeling also have that someday they will walk in through the window. Now this is the first part, and I think it is enough for now. Next we will be doing in other videos. Okay, so that's all for now. Thank you. Bye bye.